It's a mess in this attic. Lot going on, but there ain't no need to panic. Come on up and join.
What's up, everybody? Today is Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. We're back for season 4, baby. And we're opening season 4 with an interview with Mason Mahoney and Audrey Adams. They are the founders of A&M Fitness out of Houston, Texas. Unaffiliated with A&M, the university, but we're talking about Audrey and Mason Fitness. They take fitness coaching to the next level. They add a massive medical and nutritional element to the standard personal training business, and they're growing like crazy. It's booming. Some of you probably remember Mason from earlier in the A Talk in the Attic opus. We've come a long way both in the podcast, and of course, Mason's come a long way too. He has since introduced his girlfriend and business partner, Audrey, into the fold, and they're doing great things down in Houston. This is a conversation that touches on how they're able to build a business and stay loyal to one another and do all of these things and thrive in all of these things, despite it being complex. You know, each item in and of themselves is complex on its own. So it's pretty impressive. These two are very cool people. We're excited to hang out with them this summer at Electric Forest. We get into that a little bit at the end of the interview, but really this is about dealing with the different stressors that go into running a business, and it's their explanation on how to best handle that, how to best manage that. So enjoy this conversation. We're coming at you again at our standard clip. We're going to be releasing at least an episode every week. So thanks for your patience over the last couple months. We're back. It's season 4. This is A Talk in the Attic. I'm your host, Kirk Ross. Let's start the show. Welcome back, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, first interview of season 4. I'm here with Audrey Adams and Mason Mahoney. If you think you recognize the name Mason Mahoney, it's because he was on episode 32 back in season 1. We called him a real life Superman then, and he's a personal friend of mine. Audrey, this is the first time we've meeting. Thanks for coming on, folks.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
And it's good to be back. It's really good to be back.
Yeah. Mason, you had one of the first real big technical difficulty episodes was with you, and I screwed up the audio, and I tried to swing it, tried to make it work. So I'm happy to have you here with a little bit better fidelity, some better audio.
Yes, I'm excited.
And we rolled out the red carpet for you, Audrey. You know, this is I would have never had you up here when Mason came on. That was just for close friends. You know, that was just for people that I could screw up with. But Audrey and Mason, I'll let you kind of decide who's going to explain what. But I want to hear from you. What are you doing? I know you're running a business together. You're also boyfriend and girlfriend. Are you engaged? Are you boyfriend and girlfriend? What's the status?
Yeah, we're boyfriend and girlfriend as of now. We have no rush in getting married. Yeah, no rush into any of that.
Yeah, of course. No, don't ever let anyone pressure you into that.
The status on that, we literally got asked that question today. We're at the bank, and we're sitting there. We're doing like just getting some things notarized, and she's like, "So, are you guys like married?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're together." Like, she's my partner. She's like, when are you guys gonna do that? And we're like, we're in no rush right now. We got I got a 14-month-old child we're still taking care of that we're growing right now, so we're figuring that out. So
yeah, don't let bankers and certainly not podcast hosts ever pressure you, nor your parents or anything like that. You guys seem happy. That's good. But you're together. You also run a business together, and you're also both competitive bodybuilding, fitness athletes. And it's a lot going on to be able to integrate all this into a lifestyle that's, you know, manageable, sustainable, and also that's going to yield happiness. I'm impressed by you two. Let's talk about it. So Audrey, why don't you go first? Explain what the business is and you know, what your services are.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mason and I joined coaching forces, I guess. He was doing his own thing for a while. I was an assistant coach under a bigger team. And then we kind of had this realization. One, I was making about half of what I could as an assistant coach. And, you know, when you have a business partner with you, it just makes it a little bit easier. So we joined what was that, Mason?
So
14?
It was December. I can remember the date. It was December 8th, 2021. I brought Audrey out to an event that my current mentor and to-date mentor was hosting in Arizona, and Audrey had been an assistant coach for a little over a year at that point, with a close friend to us who lived out here in Houston, and we were in Houston at the time, had been in Houston for about a year at this point. Audrey and I had been dating for 15 months up until this point, maybe 14 months, and brought her out to the event. She obviously knew about my mentor, how much he's helped me, kind of what that's looked like. We go into the event without really realizing that we were going to come together and make a business out of it. And 2 or 3 days later, our coach obviously pitches people at this event to come into the mastermind, whatever we want to call it. And we get to the end of it. Audrey's like, yeah, I think I'm ready to go on my own. So she walks up to my current coach and she's like, so yeah, I'm thinking, just take my credit card. Let's figure this out. And he was like, why don't you and Mason just join and, forces together? And then pretty much the rest was history from there. And that's kind of how Team A&M got started officially.
Yeah. And then from there, the growth was just so rapid, and we knew that we were going to do great together and we were going to do big things, but I just don't think that we had expected it to be such a fast and rapid growth. And then, towards the end of the year, even midway through last year in 2022, we kind of had to stop and pause and, okay, hold on, let's collect everything. Are we really even happy working as much as we are? Where are we really trying to take this thing? But we're so obviously so grateful for the growth that we've had, but there's been a lot of learning lessons along the way. There's obviously been different, roadblocks in a sense too. And obviously it can be difficult navigating a relationship and keeping that in the top priority while you're running a business. So
yeah. And for those of you that are probably curious, okay, what you guys started a business, what the hell is it?
So what kind of coaching is it? Like, what are you focusing on these days?
Yeah. So we still work within the fitness, health, and wellness space. So we do everything that the quote unquote, typical personal trainer would do around all things basics, training, nutrition, setting up daily habits, breaking through limiting beliefs. But the side that we really started to focus on within the past year, when we did start to create the offer of our business, we work with people over the course of 6 months to a year, and we really emphasize and focus on the functional health piece now. So if you don't know what functional health is, it's basically understanding the internal mechanisms of your body. So we're talking reading blood work, understanding your sex hormones, thyroid function, cortisol, blood glucose, all that jazz, pretty much everything underneath the sun that, quite frankly, if you go to your local Anytime Fitness, LA Fitness, run of the mill, you'll never have a conversation around that stuff. Right. And especially with all the, crazy diets out there, big marketing schemes, all these companies are pushing a very rigorous course of fat loss, which often leaves people in a very screwed up spot, which in the long run are the people we're running into now. And we're seeing the hole in the market where all these women and men have dieted for 10 to 15 years and they are literally feeling helpless. And most of the time it does resort to like them having some sort of internal health imbalance, hormonal imbalance that's potentially causing them from seeing the results.
Wow. So I feel like I'm not, is this an intervention? Maybe I feel like I need to be healthier. I feel out of water, fish out of water here. But it's largely on. Are these all local clients? Are you meeting with these folks face to face in Houston, or how does that all look?
Yeah, so it's all online. I mean, we've got a client base in Canada. We have, some all over. But yeah, we don't really meet up with anybody. Truthfully, we've found that one, obviously we're able to impact so many more lives doing it online. Yeah. We can reach people across the world, but it's also really nice because a lot of times, when you have a trainer in person, it's not always going to be the most effective sessions because you sit there, you chit chat back and forth. You don't get that custom like one-on-one nutrition typically. So this is a completely online based program.
And so that's how it started you started this kind of after COVID had started, but you both were already doing online coaching before that too, right?
Yeah.
We both were. I sort of kind of started back in 2018. This was, back when I was still hitting keg stands at the fraternity and running around like a maniac for a little bit. So I started kind of in the last semester of college. And then things snowballed. I mean, what we do now too, what I explained is like night and day different than how things started, and kind of what we fell into. And we really kind of fell into this more really through bodybuilding and us competing, because our coaches and the people that we saw in the space were like having us go get labs, having us look at our blood work and see where it's at. So it really piqued a curiosity. And then from Audrey's perspective too, like her getting her master's in exercise science from one of the best schools you can go to for this type of stuff in Florida, like it was even more peaked for her in that respect too.
Yeah. So like you have the qualifications down, you have the experience down. Of course, you're both also athletes. So there, do you ever fear? We'll get into that, the athlete and the competition and all that stuff later. But do you ever fear that you have so much built up into this physicality? Like, is there a pressure to some extent that you have to be on top of your game all the time?
Totally. Yeah. We've obviously, we've made it a lifestyle. We enjoy what we do, but there's absolutely more of the, I guess, the way that we look physically is definitely how we also market in a sense too,
right.
So we could never really let ourselves slip in that way. Not that we would really want to. Again, we've made this a lifestyle, but absolutely there's pressure to keep a very minimal amount of body fat on us for sure, I would say.
Well, I'm even using you guys. I'm even using your bodies for my marketing for a Talk in the Attic, as you saw. so folks, I'm gonna post. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're gonna see an ad right now that I made using Audrey and Mason to try and push this merch. By the way, hit me up and get some merch for goodness sake. But I was defending. Some people were coming on there and saying like, this is steroids. I don't know if you were even you probably didn't even see it because you're managing your own stuff. But I had to like argue with people about that you guys are natural and that this guy says you're definitely using steroids and all this other stuff. And I'm finding myself like fighting with trolls about you guys. I don't even know. Frankly, I don't even know if you're not on steroids, but I assume you're not.
So I crossed over the natural border about a year and a half ago. So I'm not. So to that guy's defense, he I appreciate you fighting on my behalf. Yeah. But I mean, that's the nature of like, so for us from that perspective, like for me to compete at the levels, like, dudes walking on stage, like even my current state now, like I'm still 15 probably lean pounds of muscle away from like being, looked up to win these shows. So like, and that kind of piggybacks into another conversation where we got to the point at the beginning of this year where we, don't want to pursue competitions right now. So we've had coaches. Audrey's had a coach for 3 years, maybe even longer, right? Three and a half.
I've had a coach total for the last like probably 5 years.
Yeah. And for me too, similar, like 2 to 3. And then we kind of, it's really just because we saw what's happening within our business and with how much attention it needs, how much energy it needs, and just with how much travel we do, whether it's work related, whether it's just shit we need to just let's go, book a trip out of town, go run around, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
And for us to be super like on the ball, like packing meals, flying around, like hitting all of our macro, like we like to sit down on like a Friday night and whip up a freaking old fashioned and kick it back and chill and maybe go grab an appetizer or something like that. So for us, we hit that point to where the business side and like growing this and putting more attention here just kind of outweighed the side of like, I want to be a competitor, not meaning that we're stepping away from it in any means. It's just, we're not trying to take it that serious, at least for right now. So
were you monitoring when you're going through those big phases where you're gaining, you both have gained an enormous amount of muscle weight, right? In the last, give me an example so people at home know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So when I first met Mason, I was 107 pounds, which is crazy to me now. And I
even
currently,
yeah, I was when I was like 6'6", but okay,
it's nothing. But now I'm currently around like 138. So it's definitely, it's a lot of weight. Mason, gosh, what are you at now versus?
Yeah. I mean, God, dude, I was 200 and I think like 2 pounds in that photo.
And lean, like you're both very lean.
Oh yeah, like that was like the leanest I was probably going to be and the lightest I was going to be. And then, gosh, at my heaviest at some points when I was like really pushing a bulk, I'm kind of not really right now. I'm sitting at like 250 now, but I got all the way up to like 263 pounds, which is like
pretty low body fat still too, right? I mean, it wasn't.
I mean, it was like 6'4", 262, like. If Tom Brady needed a tight end, I could get out on the field and like I could play some ball. Like,
big boy for sure.
We have to try to make that happen somehow. It's just like a backyard game. How do you do that? How do you? I mean, this is kind of going to be an opportunity for you to talk to the people that would eventually be your prospective clients or pupils too. But how does one do that safely and healthily?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, you want to do it slowly, right? You don't want to go from eating close to nothing to stay that lean and get that lean to, eating like an a-hole and eating whatever,
Mhm. Right.
So you have to do it slowly. And basically, you slowly add in food, but you also, you got to train really hard in the gym. So we consistently weight lift anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week. And
Mhm.
it just took time to, but your body's like a sponge at that point. So, prior when we were eating close to nothing and we didn't have much strength, we're basically just twigs. And then you actually start fueling your body enough, and then you just put on muscle a lot quicker. And then Mason, yeah, getting some extra help too doesn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah. I
What are we
mean,
talking about here? Like straight up, like steroids, like old school, like illegal steroids?
so yeah, I mean, basically the same stuff that I was getting, you could get from like a TRT clinic. So we're talking
Yeah.
just like some extra, some test CP-onate, some test C, which
Okay.
is like the same thing. If you were like, oh shit, my test levels are low, I'm gonna go hit up a TRT clinic. That's what they would prescribe you. So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
um, I do have a plug that I could get anything from. So it's like, where you want like trend, like all that crazy shit.
Yeah.
Not anything that I had to hop onto, like, thank God, because some of that stuff, like, it's dangerous. Like if you don't know what you're doing, that's why, when I did do that for, now I still run a TRT dose because I had to come up on some stuff, but,
Yeah.
that's why I did have a coach for those reasons. So I knew I was doing something that wasn't like really stupid for
Right.
someone to just be like, oh, I'm going to jump on steroids and just start injecting shit and not really paying attention to dosages. Like you could run into some trouble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely in a safe fashion, definitely very controlled dosing for me to be able to like grow faster so I could compete at a higher level. But yeah, to Audrey's respect too, like if anyone's trying to do this, like you don't need to do what I do in order to get a good physique or have to.
No, you had a good physique.
Look
You,
to
you
that.
already had
Right,
a good
exactly.
Yeah, you just had to make the gains. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're just a lifestyle person, you just want to look good, whatever the scenario may be on the beach, naked, whatever the scenario may be, you can just simply take a probably 12 to 24 months and your whole life would change if you do the right things.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your goal. It just really depends on your goal.
And of course the eating right and the discipline to go to the gym for enough time and do the right things, that's a big part of it. But I would venture to say that that's probably a smaller hurdle than the mindset part of it.
Totally.
At least I can attest to that, just because when I get into working out, it's fun. I like doing it, but it's like getting over that hump to want to go do it is the challenge.
Yeah.
And then you start to wonder why I feel better when I'm working out. I have time to work out. Why am I not doing it? So what kind of mindset training are you doing? And I guess the better way to ask that question is, what type of hurdles are your clients seeing? Or what are you helping them get over the hump over?
Yeah, I think it depends on how much you get to the point of that desperation of I can't take this anymore. I can't take looking at myself in the mirror and not really liking what I'm seeing, or being naked and being with my partner not feeling comfortable. And
Right.
so a lot of the people that reach out to us, whether especially now that we've gotten more into like the functional space, originally it was very much so just like the way that they looked, right? I want to lose more body fat, I want to put on muscle. But now there's even more of that need of like, I know that I can't keep living in this way because my energy is crap. I can't even show up at work the way I want to, or,
Right.
I don't have any sex drive. Like there are so many things that it affects. So now it's like, there's such a need that you really almost feel like you have no choice to keep living the way that you're living.
Yeah, it really comes down to, we see it as like a tolerance thing, right? Do you want to be fit, like mentally, and like want to actually put your all into it, or is it just like something you're thinking about, you want to do? So like analogy to use would be, you got a mom who's happily married and maybe she's overweight, but her husband still loves her. Maybe she wants to change. Maybe she could change, but she might be someone who falls off a little bit after like 1, 2, or 3 months, versus some woman who is overweight. She just got divorced. Her whole life is in shambles. Like that girl's going to have so much more tenacity to want to change because the need is there. Right now, I got to go back into the dating scene. I got to get my body right. I want to get my mind right. I'm laying in bed at night just wondering what the hell went wrong in my marriage. And like, I need to put that focus into something to like work on. So it really just comes down to that like need, desire that we see people want to really put forth into it. Yeah. And then there's a whole other side to, the internal kind of mindset where we're looking at traumas, we're looking at, eating disorders from the past, or things that have caused people to think and act in a certain way that might not even be like fitness related. So there's a whole like spectrum of possibilities or things that people could be facing that are either going to put them in the right position to, go all in and not give up, or like kind of go all in and want to be all in, but have things that are kind of still dragging them down.
So just to summarize, the best way to get in shape is to go through a divorce. So if you're sitting at home, that's what you heard from A&M Fitness out of Houston.
Right.
We have a lot of girls.
Hey, the divorce rate's up. What are we looking at? Like 67, 70%?
I actually, the best shape of my life was after my first divorce. So
yeah, no, I'm telling you that like revenge body it's a real thing.
Yes, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, getting it to a point where it's a lifestyle instead of just a short-term means to an end is a huge challenge too. Even if you have someone under your watch for 24 months, I'm sure there are still some people. You're good coaches, so it's probably a good retention rate, but there's probably some people that eventually fall off of that because their circumstances change or whatever.
Yes,
absolutely. It happens all the time. I think the bigger thing too, though, is that you make it a lifestyle, but you also just learn to, like, through that discipline and through whatever that initial need was that kept you going, you look back and you're like, I don't want to feel the way I did. Why would I go back and do those old habits? Right. And another thing too, is it's built, and this is why I think both of us, or a lot of people that really get into it and go full force, is that it just builds so much discipline and self-belief in yourself in so many areas. Cause you're like, damn, I really don't want to do, this cardio session, or I don't want to go to the gym. And you do, and you're like, all right, well, what else can I do? Or you lose that 5 pounds and you keep asking, what else? And the coolest part about what we do is seeing the growth trajectory with our clients in their relationships, in their work life, and all the different facets of their life.
Yeah, it's a holistic thing. I mean, yeah, it's such a big, we all walk around in our bodies. That's like the one commonality we all have, right? We have these bodies, and like, it's not surprising that keeping that healthy is going to make you mentally happier too.
100%. Yeah. Yep.
But it doesn't make it any easier to do, though.
It doesn't. Right. No, it doesn't. Yeah. And, again, I think it just goes back to, like, how bad do you need to start to look and feel better? I guess it needs to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like that Tony Robbins, the Tony Robbins thing. Like, you're only going to put up with something as long as you can tolerate it for however long that is. And that's kind of what we run up against in terms of people being able to actually create the change, or they don't. Because for us too, like, gosh, we have people that we're hitting up every week, like, send in your check-ins, give us feedback, even like messaging them throughout the week. And some people just can't get it together. Like, it's just, sometimes it just
grown adults can't turn in a weekly form.
And they're paying you to review the form and to ask for it too. That's the craziest.
They got skin in the game.
That's the whole point of getting a coach for a lot of folks, is like, well, I'm going to invest money in this now. I better actually do it. That's a trick everyone's playing, and they still avoid it. I've done that with, like, I signed up for like a 25K. I ended up doing it the second year, but the first year I was like, I'm signing up. And then it was like a month before the 25K, and I was running like a couple miles every few days. I'm like, I'm never getting ready for this thing. And I spent a couple $100 on it. So
it's all right.
I've deceived myself with that too. Yeah, right. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, okay, so what is, when someone's coming to you, first off, how do the people find you? I know you guys are both on social media, have big followings. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. We primarily promote, I guess, through Instagram. We also have TikToks where we get leads that come over there. I mean, we're trying to have our hands in everything. Essentially, we've got our own podcast. We've got, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We're trying to be on it. Email,
Facebook groups. So
is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, our acquisition channels are spread out everywhere. For us, we're not in any paid advertising right now. That will be more of like a 12 to 24 month thing we do start to get ourselves into. But yeah, it's just really all organic through just pretty much any social media platform minus LinkedIn, unless there's something else out there that I don't know. But so that's pretty much how we do acquire pretty much anybody, or anybody even kind of finds out about us in the first place.
I mean, you're getting a pretty significant views on TikTok. I mean, I don't know where you stack up, but you have to be monetizing that to some extent, right?
Yeah. Like for TikTok in that regard, we pretty much, I mean, Audrey, you just kind of have pretty much straight direct to application kind of setup on yours, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just have a link in my bio, and the way that I've been, or I guess the content that I've been putting out there has been drawing a lot of women in that are our ideal client, which is amazing. So that's been bringing in quite a few quality leads. And now outside of that, I would say Instagram and Facebook is like the two others that we get leads from.
Yeah. So you're really monetizing it through client acquisition. There's
Yeah.
not, is there a content monetization happening with TikTok? Are some people making money from it?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people.
Yeah. Directly? I mean, like as in the TikTok is paying them based on views or something, or is it always like more of a downstream thing?
Yeah, so you can. I know with larger creators, like these are people that like we have some modestly big accounts sitting at like 180K. Audrey's got like 80, which is decent. But the
Yeah.
creators like that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, like they can make money from like TikTok directly depending on views. You know, maybe if they do really well, we're talking about maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Just from
small.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of them they're obviously their big money makers are like brand deals. And it's like sickening how much people can make from brand deals. Like we're talking what's that?
Tell the story about the dates. The dates that you did.
Major dates. Yes. So I had this one company reach out to me about like major dates, like an actual legit date. Like, you know, you eat
like
a
prune thing, like
a prune.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they send me a box of dates and I make a little TikTok video on it. This was back, I think, when I was growing really quickly back in 2020. And I had somebody like who was kind of my quote unquote agent at the time. Not anymore. Things fizzled there. But long story short, to bring that back in, I made a video for this company that sends and makes dates. So, and they paid me $900 just for that.
Just to make one TikTok on
and
it.
plus the value of the dates.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Dates are expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So $9 and $904 is what they paid me basically.
Do we have that video? I mean, can I? Well, I'm gonna.
It's somewhere deep on my TikTok.
Okay.
I want to say it's in 2020. So if you really dug, you could probably find it in there.
Oh,
I remember this was when we were going back and forth to see each other. I was living in Tampa, he's living in Chicago, and I remember you brought, I don't know if you packed them in your suitcase or if you had them ship it to my address, but I just remember you having the dates at my house filming this TikTok.
Yeah.
that has to give you kind of for a short period of time, when you see what kind of money you can make doing that, you almost want to change the game completely and just like go after ads. You know, you can kind of see people doing that. You can see people that go from valuable educational content, which you guys are giving away free valuable content on your social medias as a way to get clients. Right. But you know, you see people shift from that to like now suddenly they're wearing all these brands and their messages become diluted. And it's like, you can understand how it happens though when you see the money that's there.
Oh yeah, easily. But then also after so long, you're going to start getting diminishing returns there, and people are going to be like, "Oh, you're just a walking ad. I don't want to see what you're posting."
Right.
Yeah. So you have to be, I think, very particular and tactical about not only the way that you're presenting the ad, but who you also come aboard with. Because think about it. I mean, there's been so many times where people have sent us stuff and we're like, this is trash. Like I don't want people buying it and using a code and then it's terrible. So Dude,
it's such like you guys have actually large followings. I just have my little homespun, slow growing following, but I still get these constantly getting this bad jewelry companies that, first off, if you watch the show, you know I'm not a big jewelry guy, first off. And then secondly, I'll get asked, Mason, you probably get this too, and Audrey, you definitely do, but I get this one that asks if I want to be in the top 50 woman entrepreneurs of social media or something, and all these, and I'm like, I mean,
that's not quite right.
No, I mean, geez. Yeah, so that whole atmosphere is kind of crazy. I mean, so do you have to do it when you get, so you're not competing anymore? That used to be another way that people might see you. You're having to turn clients away, I imagine, given the fact that your reach is so massive online. And if that's your primary acquisition channel, how are you interviewing clients, and how are you deciding if you want to actually proceed with them, or are you pretty much taking everyone that wants to come, that wants in?
Yeah. So I mean, not everybody's a good fit.
Right.
You know, ultimately with us too, like our services, like now over time, as they've developed and as we've grown and as we've changed things, it's not cheap. So it's like we have a very, you know, niche clientele of like people who are, you know, they are full-time employees, they are of a certain age, they you know, do have a certain energy about them, because obviously we want to work with and have our coaches work with people that are fit the culture of our team. Right. Because we're very big on community now. We have over like 280 of our clients in a WhatsApp chat that's everyone's always communicating back and forth, and there's always conversation being had. So for us too, it's like we do have a very good lead flow that comes through, but in terms of conversion, just based off of like whether or not someone's a good fit for us, whether or not they can even afford our services, isn't like us like opening the gates like, hey, everyone come on in, more or less.
Yeah, that's stretchy too thin anyway. I mean,
exactly.
Time too.
Yeah. And there's people that come in and I think they think, they see fitness coaching and back when we had first started, or even when we were on our own doing coaching, it was mainly just, hey, we'll help you lose body fat. But now that we're kind of
Right.
almost taking away the need for them to go and like see naturopath doctors and things like that. Not that you shouldn't go there, but we do bridge those gaps between that
Right.
holistic kind of doing supplementation and things like that, and what a naturopath doctor would recommend. And we really encompass the nutrition, the training, the hormones, the gut health, the things that, can get very, very expensive elsewhere.
Yeah. And are you training your folks? I mean, what kind of turnover is there? Are you training your clients so that after a 2-year term with you, they now are fully educated and they're able to review their own blood work in the same way that you guys are? Maybe not to that expertise level because there's less experience, but is there kind of a plan to graduate these folks, or is this a goal to keep them on your ledger forever?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of both. So we, in theory, someone puts in the work, they show up for themselves for the entire year plus. Most of our clients are with us for 12 to 24 months. They should have the knowledge and skills, and then we kind of do send them off with like, a exit packet, if you will. So, granted, they've learned a lot from us, but to always have a resource. And then we're actually in the process of building out another kind of lifetime access sort of vault, if you will. So like if someone wants to always have access to new trainings, new materials, a group call once a month, that kind of thing, they can always be tapped in to us without having that one-on-one relationship, how they typically would have if they started with us.
Okay. So are you doing a lot of video content creation in the gym where you're actually making custom workouts for folks, or at least a certain, maybe you have groups? How does that all look? How much time are you spending creating workout videos specifically?
Mason and I do very little of the actual coaching now, which is great. We have 3 assistant coaches. We're getting ready to hire another one here, but our main job is to continue to bring in lead flow and to make sure that our coaches are handled, that our, back end team, we have a team of 10, 11 now, 11
yeah.
including us. So now it's like we had to step out of, which was honestly really difficult, I think, especially for myself, step out of that coaching role. Okay. Now I have all this knowledge around health and fitness, but I need to run a business now. And now, we need to be owners and CEOs of our company. And so we do very little of the recording videos or anything like that. We did that initially, and now they're kind of in like our app. So they're just there, which is great, but we don't really do any sort of programming really anymore, or workout programming in general.
Yeah. And obviously, like we do record a shit ton of videos. Let's not be wrong about that. From like
social media,
but it's more marketing based stuff.
Yeah. And then we still do, every Tuesday we'll have a 20 to 45-minute call where we'll kind of just deep dive into a topic, and that's always going into a library. So we have a ton of videos stashed in there over the past year that we're always adding to, recording, putting new content in as well.
So 14 months in, and you've already grown from what started as a 2-person figuring it out into 11 people now. That's a pretty fast growth. I'm sure that matches a revenue stream that's growing as well. What are some challenges and some triumphs you've had in regards to growing the business? That's a hard thing for most people to do successfully.
Yeah. And this isn't for like at the rate that we've grown, and what we've been able to do it's just not for everybody. It's like not everybody's cut out for this. And quite frankly, if I didn't have Audrey, there would have been no fucking way I would have even gotten remotely. We would have gotten remotely close to where we are today. So
that's the value of teaming up with someone, is you get the economies of scale on that. You can both divide and conquer a little bit and actually manage it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And it's worked so well because, like, aside from the business, like Audrey and I have, like, in our eyes, like the most picture perfect relationship with each other, from affection, love, intimacy, everything around the way that we just view the world. Like we see eye to eye on every little detail, which is why we're able to work together every single day. Sure, we have our challenges around that, but without her, like she is everything that I'm not. Like, I'm good at sales, I'm good at marketing, I'm good at creating content. She's good at creating content, but she is passionate about team, right? Being that CEO role, managing people, showing a ton of empathy, making sure they're taken care of, like showing people that she cares, which I could do, but that's not my strong suit. So like we balance each other so well within the business. which has allowed us to kind of really take that and run with it from the start. So kind of getting into, how we've grown over the past year, like we hit November last year and we we're like, fuck this, we want to close this whole business down. Like it was that
Hard
stressful.
times.
Stressful but as you were growing through it, I mean, you were growing and that's what was causing the stress, or it was downtimes?
So it was so just to kind of put things into perspective, like how we've grown. So like both of us, I think at the end of 2021 within our coaching businesses collectively, we did a little over 6 figures each.
Mm-hmm.
From start of our business from 0 to 13 months, we went 0 to $1 million. And within that time frame, that's like we were getting to the end of the year where we're there, like every month we were running 2 big offers. We would have 13 days of like 5+ sales calls throughout the month. And then the downtime was like trying to get back into our marketing, back into like, creating content. And it was just nonstop back and forth for like 8-9 months. And then we hit the end of the year and, Q4 was a little bit of a slower month. So like, we kind of saw a little bit of a wave down and we're like, fuck, like what's happening? What are we fucking up? And then stress piles up and we're like, oh, we suck. Like we're doing things wrong. And then it was like, hold on. We need to like reel ourselves back in, take a second, take a breather, look at all the growth we've had this year, understand maybe this quarter is just naturally slower, whatever the case may be.
Which it probably always is because of the holidays and all of that.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So it was just a wild year in that perspective of how much growth had happened. If we didn't have the relationship that we have, like we would have hit some of those rough patches where things could have went really bad really fast if we weren't able to work with each other in those respects. But and I don't know if you want to weigh in on that too, Audrey. I know.
I think as far as like challenges that we faced managing, kind of like I said, I feel very confident about my coaching abilities. And, I went on to get my master's because I love science and I loved just all the application. And then it was like, wow, I can do this and I can do it at a larger scale, but I'm going to have to learn managerial skills that I didn't know before, that maybe come a little bit more natural, but there are things that don't come very natural to me, that I had to pick up on. And now it's like, man, we are feeding. So when we had that Q4 that was a little bit slower, it's like, it's not just us anymore. It's not just us, maybe we got to pull back our budget a little bit or whatever the case might be. It's like, we have to feed all of these other people's mouths and we have to also, we're giving them their living too. So I think that the pressure within that itself was a lot, and subconsciously just a lot of stress that weighed heavy on us. And of course, along the way too, I mean, at this point we've fired 3 people. And
Audrey fired 3 people.
Fired 3 people.
You gotta let the most empathetic one do the firing. For sure.
Yeah. And it's hard. So nobody really prepares you for the challenges that will come up. And I think within our relationship, we've done very, very good at trying to separate it, but we both love what we do so much that even when we got to dinner, it's like, we're talking about business. Even last night, Valentine's Day, it was like we were mapping out our 5-year plan, but we love it, which is great, but it comes with its own challenges too. And so there's been quite a few, but I think just growing at a rapid rate is difficult within itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned going from essentially self-employed to becoming employers. That really changes the game. Like you said, the burden on you and the pressure on you to keep the things rolling, not just for the 2 of you. You'll bounce back and land on your feet if this thing went out. But what about the other 9 folks? Right. It's like,
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So what is the 5-year plan? You don't have to get into great detail, but are you intending to continue to grow where you're going to have 100 coaches, or what's the outlook?
Yeah. And we're still piecing it together because we, like I said, we hit the end of last year and we were like things were kind of swelling and we were just like we've done really well, but what are we trying to work towards? What's the goal? What's our vision with this? And that was tanking down our motivation a little bit it's just like, what am I going to continue to do this month over month? Okay. Add another 5 more coaches. Does that make me more fulfilled? Maybe not. So for us, it needed to become we needed more of an objective to work towards. That like business growth is a part of it, but like that business growth is giving, way to what it is we're trying to do. So for some of those goals, it's like, I don't know. Do you want to jump into those, Audrey?
Yeah. I mean, I think like
Nice.
Mason said, the growth within itself was already hard to wrap our heads around. So we got to this point, and I'll circle back to that question, but we got to this point where we had hit what we thought might have been our well past our income goal, maybe, and well past what I thought I would have achieved maybe in 5 years. And then
Right.
it was like, well, that didn't necessarily bring me full happiness. I didn't get here and I'm like, well, I've done it. I made it, not to say that I expected it, but it definitely was kind of an eye opener. It's like, okay, what is going to bring us fulfillment? And now let's map out our 5 years, knowing what we know. So when we sat down, it was definitely, having investments, money in investments was one, because it's not something we've really tapped in too much. The other one was living in a place, and specifically in a state that brings us a lot of peace and things to do and a lot of nature. Because I think living in Houston, it is a concrete jungle out here. There's not a whole lot of
The
nature
armpit
at
of
all.
America.
Yeah, it's the
I always
armpit
tell
of
everybody it's
America.
the armpit of America out here.
Is it bad? I was going to ask how you like.
It's grimy.
It'll get the
It could
job
be
done.
better. You know what?
It's hot. At least it's nice weather, right? It's super hot, isn't it?
It is warm.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll get warm weather. We'll get like 30 days below 55 degrees, and then that's about it.
Yeah, it's no Chicago.
No,
Chicago.
not at all.
No. Yeah. That's a whole nother story that we might get into here. But yeah, so that's it. I think being around nature and with what we do, it's so demanding. And sometimes we're just like, man, we would love to get out and go for a hike or, be around water, and we walk out and it's just concrete. So I think living in a spot that has that to offer is really big for us. But within 5 years, no kids, we still don't have a plan to get married. So that wasn't even on there.
Who cares about that anyway? I mean, that doesn't change how, the relationship really anyway. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But as far as coaches go, I mean, that's another thing. We don't really know what I think the 5 years could look like because we just did so much in a year. Would it be great to have a ton of coaches? Absolutely. But we're actually currently in the process of writing a book and having different lower ticket or, offers that are things
More
that
product based.
And so from that, I mean, the goal is to be able to help as many people as possible. So if that's 100 coaches, it is, but we don't know exactly. We're just kind of going with the flow and working hard towards something.
Yeah. I mean, you're early. It's still it's an infant company still. That's what's crazy about it is you've blown up and it's going well and it's been busy, but it could look very different 5 years from now. And as the culture is going to look different and the avenues that you're acquiring customers is going to look different and all that.
Yeah,
who knows?
absolutely. Yeah, you never know. So we're just going with the flow and doing what we love and just working hard towards it. And wherever it leads us is, I guess, where we're supposed to go is kind of how we've looked at it.
That's a really good outlook. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we're like I mean, if you look at our last year, the last 12 months, like take the business aside, like we are so that looks cool. Let's do it kind of people. I mean, for Christ's sakes, we moved to Chicago in the beginning of June, and then we moved to Chicago 11 weeks later. Went cross country twice, but we decided to move up to Chicago. I'm obviously from Chicago, the suburbs. I'd lived inner city for about 18 months or so. And Audrey, when she first met me, came out to my apartment right on Lake Michigan, the place that I was at with my brother for that time frame. And she was like, I love the city. Let's go do it. Let's go live in a city. I need to live in a skyrise. If I don't do it, like I'll kick myself and, whatever. So we do it. We go out there. We're about a month in. It's just a different environment. Our dog's peeing on the cement now. There's sirens. We got a BP gas station right off the corner where we were there for 11 weeks. 9 crimes happened there, like guns, knives, people getting stabbed. Like we're like in the city. Like, so it's, not that it's normal to have a bunch of crime that close to home, but it happens. So we just got to the, end of July, and Audrey was like,
I can't do it.
I just can't do it. So
I couldn't do it. It was weird not having. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say it was weird not having a car. I felt like I almost was in this bubble that I couldn't get away from. I felt like I was on vacation and I really wanted to go home. It's like, wheeling your cart to the grocery store, and the grocery stores are so small, and, walking to the gym. And this was in summer. So it was beautiful. It wasn't
even bad. Yeah.
No, it was gorgeous. I'm like, if we get to the winter time and I already am not loving this life, there's no way. But it's funny. I still will say Chicago is my favorite city. I am still in love with it. I love that you have the Midwest, nicer people, but this
Yeah.
gorgeous city that also
And
has
the beach
water.
right there. It's nice that the water's there too.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I love it
yeah.
so much. But living there, at least we lived right in the heart of River North, was a whole different story. Just not for us.
Aren't you from New Lenox?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna start this joke over. I'm gonna cut that part. But well, if you like nature, you should have moved to New Lenox, like where Mason grew up.
Mm,
There's
it's
nothing else going
cornfields
on there,
out
right?
there.
Isn't
Literally,
it like
No,
rural?
it
I got
is.
cornfields about 300 yards behind my house.
I
If this is
I-
New
runs for
Lenox, I'd hate to
miles.
see Old Lenox.
right.
Ooh, that's right.
Is Old Linux really a thing?
Well,
I mean, you could
Lenox.
classify New Lenox as old Lenox. It used to be just a God, like literally hole in the wall towny bars that were like 40, 50
Oh.
years old. You know, you
I
find
don't
your
feel like
grandpa
it's
sitting in there.
changed that much, has it? I mean, it's
No.
still cornfield. It's very desolate. I couldn't do it. I grew up
Yeah.
in Tampa. We go and
Yeah.
visit his family
It's,
for
it's
Christmas.
the end of civilization down there.
It
There's
is.
there's nothing past New Lenox.
It's
It
a
is.
simple
I
life,
just-
though. Hey,
Yeah.
after checking TikTok and Facebook and Instagram for like 12 hours in a row, sometimes the idea of I went and picked up wood for the attic project actually at an Amish place, an Amish family's
Ooh.
sawmill.
Okay.
This is up in like central northern Michigan, and I left my phone at the house because I'm like, if I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna do it. And man, it was kind of nice. I was there for like an hour, and the kids were running around. I don't have kids, but the
Right.
Amish kids. And the sawmill's going, and it was like I can understand the appeal at times to just unplugging and being away from
Oh,
it.
shit.
Totally. The simple life, I think, is one that, especially as social media continues to grow and we're on our screens more and more, it's like, it sounds so peaceful. So peaceful.
It does, and then you get out there and you're like, "Fuck, I had to check my email."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it felt good to me because I knew my phone was just back at home. It was like an hour drive. It wasn't like
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't, I
Yeah,
never had a
but
phone.
it is nice to get that break for sure. We wish
Yeah.
we could have more of it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so you're gonna move somewhere cool. Have you considered like Colorado or something like that, or California?
Literally, that is the place. I was gonna mention that as Audrey was given her description of where we wanted to go.
Denver or something.
Denver area, somewhere around there, just because Audrey actually snowboarded for the first time in January, so like last month, and
Nice.
she
How'd you
loved
do?
it.
I did well. I did ski school the first day and I was out there all day, had a little too many shots in my flask. I think I was a little too
Got-
tipsy out there. It was great.
Bruise your ass a little bit.
Yeah,
But that's part of the learning.
Oh man, that was great being on the bunny slopes, easy, right? And then we get out and they're like, let's do one run together. And we get up to the top and the green run was closed off. So we
Gotta
only
go
had the
black diamond.
blue run.
Oh,
Oh
blue,
god,
okay.
it felt like one. It did. It felt
was
like
a
one.
steep blue. It was probably
It
the
was-
steepest blue on the mountain, if we're being honest.
It was. It was hard. I just
Baptism by
remember.
fire.
Yeah. Oh god. I remember getting over to the edge and I'm like, I can't see the bottom or even it just dropped. And I was like, all right, we're going for it. So we had a couple bumps and bruises and we're still recovering a little bit, but we'll be back out there in
Oh,
2
yeah.
weeks.
That's what you got. That's what you got to do. Yeah, Colorado's a cool place. You both strike me as Colorado folks, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we love it.
basically.
It's sunny all the time. 300
know.
days
Yeah,
out
I
of
figured
the
out
year.
300 days of sun a year, supposedly in Colorado, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I've seen
Absolutely
I see
insane.
pictures when it's like 15 degrees in Denver or 10 degrees in Denver, but it's so sunny that it's like such a different vibe than. Well, you went to school in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
Grand Rapids, even compared to Detroit, we don't get a lot of sun, dude. Like in the winter, we go weeks at a time without seeing the sun. And the older I get, it's like, oh, why am I
I
feeling
know.
sad?
Go
It's like,
nuts.
oh,
Yeah.
it's because I haven't seen the fucking sun. And
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I would love an area like Washington. It looks
Mm.
beautiful, but I gotta have some sun. I gotta have
Yeah.
some sun, you know?
yeah,
And we have some friends up in Seattle that are really that we're really close with, and they love it. They're like one of my friends, like, I love it being gray outside, and I'm like, you're a sick son of a bitch.
Sick
is what
son
you
of a
are.
bitch.
that's someone that didn't grow up in Michigan. I don't know. Maybe they grew up there. It maybe becomes an
Their new norm.
acquired taste or something. but-
Right.
I don't know. I also heard a myth or someone told me that it's actually a myth that it's so gray in Seattle that's perpetuated by the citizens of Seattle because
no
they
one
don't
moves.
want everyone to move there.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might be.
you know?
I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, it's on the West Coast. You've got granted it's not right on the West Coast, but all the West Coast states I feel like are very sunny. So what's going on with Seattle? You know, what's happening up there?
Yeah.
It might be a myth.
If you're listening or watching from Seattle, let me know. Is it sunny there, or are you just going to keep the lie going?
Please. Tell the truth. It's about time.
Well, this has been super fun, guys. I know I'm really impressed, and I'm Mason. We have a background just kind of meeting each other at concerts. So regardless where you guys end up, we got to make sure we do a festival together. I know you're both into festivals.
Yes, that would
we're
be
actually.
awesome.
I don't know what we're going to Electric Forest this year.
Oh, we are too. There we go.
Perfect.
Boom.
Oh, awesome.
Hell yeah. Where are you? Do you already have your do you ever have tickets and everything? Or do you know where you're staying?
Yeah, so we're RVing. Yeah, we're RVing
Nice.
with we had a big group. My brother's going to be there too with his girlfriend, and he's going with the whole other group of people too. So
Hell
it'll
yeah.
be a gaggle of us up there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're going to be staying in the Good Life tent only parking, so it's right by there. It's just kind of like a little bit north though, where the RVs are. So
perfect. We tried to scoop up those cabins because we were like, oh, cool, this is like perfect. And then you realize that people that have been there for multiple years could just grab them right away, and we're like, what the fuck?
We're screwed.
Dude, we don't even have tickets. We didn't have tickets last year. Last year was our first one, and we didn't get tickets until the day before. It was actually after they were already letting people in, and because we're so close, we just drove to the parking area, and I just was like looking for people like, hey, whose friend didn't show up? There's always people that agree to go to stuff and they don't.
Yep.
Because the online environment's filled with scammers, so you can't rely on that at all.
Facts.
So I'm
That's
I'm just
true.
gonna go there, and I had ticket offers all over the place, so we ended up getting about $3,000 worth of tickets for like $1,000 too.
Wow,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the way to do
so
it.
sick.
But you also have to be
my
willing
God.
to be not necessarily spontaneous. You guys are coming from Houston. You can't really afford to walk away without tickets.
Yes.
Right.
Like if you live that close,
home.
it's like, shit, we didn't get it today. We'll get back tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's how.
yeah.
So
Can't really do that.
but now we're trying to get a
That'll
bunch of
be
our
cool.
friends from Detroit area to come, and they're not, they have the means to pay like we do, but they also aren't as spontaneous, so they're freaking out. Like they don't trust we're gonna get tickets. I'm like, we will. But that said, if anyone bails from your group, you know who to contact.
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
We had a hard time getting tickets actually. One of our friends, I don't know if she's even gonna go anymore, but yeah, she didn't even get in. She waited in line for however long, and
oh yeah.
She actually didn't get one.
Yeah, no, it's a fun event. Have you been, Audrey?
I have not. I've been to quite a few festivals. I've not been to Electric Forest. I went to Okeechobee in Okeechobee, Florida, and that one was amazing. It was my first festival, and I went 2 years in a row. So it'll be interesting though, because every time we've gone to a festival now, we just get a big old Airbnb. We've got a nice shower.
This is our first, well, not our first camping one. First camping one since we've been together.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like the camping part. Like I don't camp in my day to day. Like I haven't gone camping.
Right.
Yeah, neither do we. Yeah.
But it's a different vibe there. It kind of like helps you leave the real world behind a little bit, when you're not around any amenities, and you're like, someone took a shit in the shower. That's all part of it. It's like disgusting, but
it adds to it.
Galvanizing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're excited.
We will see you at Electric Forest. We'll be in touch before then. Thanks so much for coming on, guys. I'm keep it going. It's really inspiring to see when you put hard work into something, you can make it happen. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be stress-free. It doesn't mean it's going to be great for your relationship if you're not both focused on the same thing as you happen to be. But you can do it. And you can also get jacked as fuck during that time too. So I don't know how you did it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us on. It was great getting to know you, and I'm excited to go to Electric Forest too. That'll be cool.
Absolutely. Yes. That's good. Then you guys are, you can kind of school me in this environment of fitness and stuff, but I can show you how to party though.
Yeah,
that's true. That's a true story.
Right. We'll take you up on that one.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kirk.
It's a mess in this attic. Lot going on, but there ain't no need to panic. Coming up and join, we getting wild, getting manic. Spitting truth for all you fanatics. Every week got something new to say. Ain't no filter, this shit coming straight from the brain. It's coming straight from the brain. Yeah, it's coming straight from the brain.